All right, a huge hello to all you brilliant marketing apprentices from Kent Business College. Get ready because we are about to crack the code on one of the most powerful ideas in marketing. Seriously, this can be the difference between a launch that absolutely flies and one that just fizzles out. Okay, let's jump right in.
I mean, really think about it for a second. What possesses a person to queue up for hours, sometimes even days, in the cold for a new gadget? Is it just pure madness? Or, and this is the important part, is it a predictable pattern? One that we as marketers can actually understand and work with? Well, that's the big question behind adoption behavior.
And here it is. This is the answer. The diffusion of innovation model. Now I know, the name sounds super academic and maybe a little boring, right? But forget the fancy name. For you, this is not some dusty old theory. This is a treasure map. It shows you exactly how a new idea or product spreads through society, and knowing how to read it is your key to a successful launch. So, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the trailblazers, the ones who light the first spark. Then we'll talk about how to hit the mainstream and how to win over the real skeptics. And finally, we'll look at the traditionalists and wrap it all up in your go-to playbook. Let's do it. Okay, first things first, we have to talk about the people who get the party started. These are the first two groups on our map, and they are absolutely crucial. They provide the spark, the initial energy that any new product needs to even have a chance. Without them, honestly, you're dead in the water before you even start. So let's break them down. Over on the left, you've got the innovators. They're a tiny slice of the population, just 2.5%. Think of them as the tech daredevils. They love new stuff just for the sake of it being new. But then on the right, you have the early adopters, a much bigger group at 13.5%. These are the visionaries. They're not just chasing shiny objects, they're looking for a real advantage. And crucially, people listen to what they have to say.
Need a picture of an innovator? Think about the very first people who used Monzo. While most of us were still with our old high street banks, you have this small, cool crowd in places like Shoreditch proudly flashing these bright coral-colored cards. They didn't care that nobody else knew what it was. In fact, that was part of the fun for them.
So what about early adopters? Well, a perfect example is the first wave of people who bought electric cars. I mean, cast your mind back to 2015. Finding a charging station was like finding a unicorn. But these people were buying Nissan Leafs anyway. They saw the vision of a cleaner future and were willing to deal with the hassle just to be pioneers. They weren't just taking a risk, they were making a statement. So here's your mission for these first two groups. It's a two-part play. First, you give those innovators early access. Let them be your beta testers. Listen to their feedback and use it to make your product better. Then you turn to the early adopters. For them, you need to prove the advantage. You hit them with powerful testimonials and solid case studies showing exactly how your product is going to give them that edge they crave. Okay, this next part is huge. Getting your product from those first visionary customers to the mainstream, well, marketers have a name for it. We call it crossing the chasm. This is the make or break moment where a cool niche product either becomes a massive success or it just fades away. And this is the prize on the other side of that chasm, a massive 34% of the population. This group is called the early majority. Let me tell you, winning them over is how you go from being a cool startup to being a household name. This is where the real explosive growth happens. So who are these people? In one word, pragmatists. They are not risk takers. Before they even think about buying, they need to see that your product works, that it's reliable, and that people just like them are already using it and loving it. See, they don't want to be the first one on the dance floor, but they definitely don't want to be the last either. And if you want to see what that tipping point looks like in the real world, just look at this chart. Check out the EV market. See that tiny little bar back in 2018? That's the 2.5% market share from the early adopters. Now, fast forward to 2021. Boom, it skyrockets to almost 19%. That jump right there is the early majority all deciding to jump in at once. That's the chasm being crossed. So your mission now is to make your product feel safe. It's about making it feel like the normal, smart choice. This means you have to change your messaging completely. You stop shouting about how new and revolutionary it is, and you start talking about how proven and reliable it is. Use social proof everywhere. Join the millions who've already made the switch, and make it incredibly simple to buy with amazing customer support ready to help. So we've crossed the chasm, we're in the mainstream, but our journey is not over, not by a long shot. There's another huge chunk of the market out there, the late majority. And trust me, marketing to this group is a whole different ballgame. It's not about excitement anymore. It's about persuading the cautious and overcoming some serious skepticism. And look at that number again. It's another 34%. This group is just as big as the early majority. That means if you can figure out how to win them over, you're not just succeeding, you're dominating the market. You just can't afford to ignore them. These are the true skeptics. They hate risk. They will only, and I mean only, adopt something new when they feel like they have no other choice. It could be because of social pressure from their friends, or maybe it just becomes economically painful not to switch. Their motto is basically, fine, I'll get it once I absolutely have to. The absolute perfect case study for this group: online grocery shopping during the pandemic. For years, a lot of people were like, nope, not for me. But when going to the supermarket suddenly became a health risk, that created a powerful sense of necessity that forced them to change. They didn't adopt because they wanted to, they adopted because they felt they had to. That is the late majority in a nutshell. So how in the world do you win these folks over? It all comes down to reducing risk and applying a little bit of gentle pressure. You offer them rock-solid guarantees. You tempt them with discounts and special deals that make it feel like a foolish thing to miss. And your messaging has to be crystal clear. This isn't new anymore. This is the standard now. And above all, you make it unbelievably simple to use. We are nearing the end of our map, folks. We've reached the final group, the last frontier, the traditionalists. Understanding them is the last piece of the puzzle. And after we cover them, we're going to pull this all together into your ultimate one-page marketing playbook. And here they are, the laggards. They make up the final 16% of the population. You probably know someone like this. They're the ones who live and breathe the motto, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They are super resistant to change, and often they will only adopt something new when their old way of doing things literally doesn't exist anymore. Think of the person who only gives up their old flip phone when the mobile network finally shuts down for good. So, if you take away one single thing from this entire explainer, please let it be this. You cannot, I repeat, cannot use the same strategy for everyone. Trying to sell to a skeptic using a message designed for an innovator is just a recipe for disaster. This right here, this is your ultimate cheat sheet. For innovators, it's all about exclusive access. For early adopters, prove the advantage with case studies. For the early majority, make it feel safe with social proof. For the late majority, offer guarantees and create pressure. And for the laggards, you just make the switch easy and, eventually, unavoidable. And we're gonna leave you with this final thought. Now that you have the map, I want you to think about yourself for a second. Where are you on this curve? Are you an innovator, always first in line? Or maybe you're a pragmatist from the early majority? Understanding your own tendencies is the first step to becoming a truly brilliant marketer, one who can genuinely connect with anyone, no matter where they fall on this wave of innovation.